Okay, hey there guys, so in this war we're going up against NEWN again, which obviously, as I said in the previous war, right, it's always a tough war. You have to play well. You have to plan, you have to wait for your instructions, you have to go along with everything, right? Like, NEWN, especially this season, they've been pretty good, and they're always a pretty decent alliance. The previous war that they played, they won 150-0, so like, we knew going into this we'd have to play pretty well. I don't know for sure the results yet, but right now the results are looking pretty good. So this war is very, very short for me, I'll be honest. So this first fight is against Mojo with Torch. They didn't ban Torch, so I get to bring in Torch. I think I just said his name way too many times in a sentence. Which, you don't get to bring Torch, obviously, into war too often, so I get to use his pre-fight here because if I were to knock him down, one, I'd still be able to apply my Novas, and then two, they just do a lot of damage, and I went in with the instruction of not knocking him down, which is going pretty well, like 20 or 40 seconds in, let's say, and he's down at 40%, and your damage is just going to keep going up every time he throws an SP1, but here I start getting a couple of the degens on me, and I'm like, So I launch my SP2 when he's at 20% health, and because of the Fury, and it removes the protection, my Nova Flames start ticking for a lot more, and it wraps him up pretty nicely. I always love getting to bring Torch to war. Last season, you didn't get to bring him like at all, so it's always fun getting to bring him back into war. Still, he's not as common of a ban anymore though, which is nice, but he's just not as commonly assigned this season, at least not to me. So this next one is about as simple of a fight as I guess you could get. Doom versus a Nova. The Nova doesn't even really have anything too special. He has heavy hitter, but the reason I say it's not too special is unless I'm getting hit by like his SP2, he doesn't really deal damage to me. Like right there, I take that with the heavy. I take a heavy with the Fury, and it does 1% of damage, 2% of damage. Like, I could literally just eat hits to build power instead. Right there, the parry that I put on him, I know that he's about to get his protection back, so he's going to shrug it off so I don't go in there. In this fight, it's a little bit slow at the start, I guess, right? Like 30 seconds in until my SP3. But I have 4 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion for this fight, I think, so I gain a lot of power whenever he gets the Unblockable or the Fury buff. And it's a pretty simple, pretty smooth fight. Like, that's kind of how Doom fights go in war, right? Like, you get in there, you throw your SP3s. I haven't had a Doom fight in... I don't know the last time I brought Doom. I feel like I brought him this season early on, but I don't feel like I've had him too much in the second half of the season. And this SP3 here, normally, usually with Doom, right, you like throw the SP2, especially in war, you just need the one Fury SP2, and the fight will like always be over. But against Nova, he has damage reduction against unblockable specials, so I try to avoid using the SP2 as long as I remember that fact. I just throw the SP3 because I get full damage on it, and the second Fury SP3 obviously was plenty of overkill there. So this is actually going to be my final fight of the war, and it's a really interesting fight. When I saw this, I was a little bit worried going into this. I don't know why. I really love Falcon. He's a very good champion. I think he's underrated. I think people underestimate what he can do, and I think in this instance I underestimated a little bit what he could do. So this fight, I was worried, right? I'm putting on a 200% and a 12 boost. Like, you don't just put those on, and I'm only using him for this one fight. You don't put something like that on if you're not like worried at all, if that makes any sense. So the fight starts, I trigger his protection. I need to get my locked on so I don't get the damage over times. I'm okay if I apply a couple of them to me throughout the fight if it starts to go really long, but I want to avoid them as much as I can. Right there, I make the mistake I used to make so much against Thing with Falcon, but I've gotten out of that habit, which is dashing in on his heavy, but that SP2 does 30-ish% of his health. And unfortunately, I was a little bit slow to get my power, so I couldn't do the second SP2 during the first locked on phase. I think this fight is finishable in that single locked on if I was a little bit more aggressive, if Thing was a little bit more cooperative. So right here I just have to dex his heavy against the wall, his protection falls off, I know how much it did last time, and that just about finishes him off, and I just have to hit him one more time, and that's Thing down. That fight, I was pretty worried actually going into that fight, but it went really well. And here, I used the energy. Always use your energy, guys. So here is the score currently in the war. This is still day 1 though. We're ahead on fights only by a bit, but we're ahead a fair bit on the deaths. Yeah, it's looking pretty good for a win. This win would be very big for us. It'll put us in a really, really good spot for the season. So I hope that I wake up tomorrow and we don't have another 4 Loki situation in our hands. I'll try to add to the comments tomorrow or something for what it is, if we win or not. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.